Hello everyone. So it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I'm going to keep this a little bit shorter than the previous ones. I'm going to do a 60-second recap on how the grading works. And then from there, what I'm going to do in the email that I sent, which if you're watching this you should know by now, is put in timestamps where you can go to for specifics on your course, whether it's Physics of the Universe, AP Physics 1, or AP Physics C. In those, I'm going to talk about what the rest of the school year is going to look like, what our final exams going to look like, and what are your final grades, how all of that will be calculated. So the 60-second recap, which is for everyone, is how your options for grading are, or credit for a grade. If you put in enough effort, you will end up with a B or higher because of how the 40-40-20 grading system works. In order to be eligible for this, you need to accomplish 16 of the 20 engagements, or 12 of 15 if you're a senior. The COVID credit option is you need 60% of the work done, so that would be 12 of 20 engagements, or 9 of 15 if you're a senior. And then if you do not accomplish at least 12 of 20 or 9 of 15, you will by default receive COVID no credit. I know the seniors have an extra option, but the only thing that affects is your final project, which will be different for each individual course, and that's what I'm getting into in just a moment. Before I do that, though, I also want to point out once again that all pre-COVID work, that includes pre-flights and web assigns, are open. Pre-flights, you have a second opportunity, so if you were not happy with the first, you can do it again. Web assigns, same thing. You can boost the grade. All of that closes on Monday, May 18th at 11:59 p.m. Beyond that, there's nothing I can do. That's it. It is over. You cannot make up any work. Now, why is this so important? Because your Q3 grades are going to determine if you're choosing to go for a grade, what grade you can get. If you get at least a 60% or higher in the third quarter, you're eligible for at least a B, maybe even a B plus. That's not a B minus, that's a B. And then if you have at least a 75% in the third quarter, you are eligible for an A minus or even higher. So those missing assignments from pre-COVID can be very important for a select few people. Also, I do know that there are some engagements that are late as emails have been sent out. Please, when you do make up that work, submit the grade update form, which you can find attached to the email that this video came in, as well as at the top information section of every single 5 block learning engagements that we've been giving out. So this is the point where, one more thing really quick before the A and B. Everyone's eligible to get an A, but that clock is running out. The Q3 work to get an A is due by May 18th. Now, if your grade is maximized, which has happened to a few people, they've made up every pre-flight and every web assign, and they can't hit 75%. Contact me via email and we can work something out. Any grade that is at least a D minus or higher in Q3 will become a B if you do the work. So this is where you're going to want to check the timestamps for each individual class to see how the end of your class will work out. If you're in Physics of the Universe, your final project is currently in development. It's going to involve 4 tasks, and I will have more information for that later. I hope to have that out by the end of this week. If not, then very early next week. You do not need to study for this, so you can rest assured that that pressure is off. You won't need to worry about that. What the rest of the course is going to look like for us is learning engagements 11 through 15 will deal with atomic nuclear physics, which is your half-lives, alpha, beta, gamma decays, nuclear fission, nuclear fusion, nuclear weapons, nuclear power plants. And it's going to conclude this Friday with, I'm sorry, not this Friday, next Friday with a mock test, similar to how we had done before with magnetism and with circuitry. We will not be grading that based on you got a 75%, you're getting a 75% in the grade book. We believe everyone should be eligible, or everyone should be capable, rather, capable is a better word, of getting at least an 80% on it. All the multiple choice questions you have two chances at, and every single numeric based response you have 5. It's also all open note, open book, obviously. We encourage you to use additional resources. We will say, though, that the more effort you put into doing the work in engagements 5 through 14, the less referencing of material you would actually need to do. And the test will be engagement 15. Then we will have 5 engagements 16 through 20, which will deal with astronomy. In astronomy, we're going to focus very heavily on stars and how stars play a huge role in the creation of elements. So it's sort of like we're going to continue onwards with atomic nuclear, but focusing specifically on nuclear fusion, which is the power source of all stars in the galaxy. We'll talk about the creation of all elements higher than hydrogen, because every single element that is above hydrogen in the periodic table is forged inside of a star or during the star's death. From there, there'll be a conclusion of a short assessment similar to the magnetism test, the nuclear test, the circuits test. I would say probably a little bit shorter, but because it's only going to be 4 engagements leading up to that, but that's how we're going to conclude that. From there, that would be encompassing the 40% of quarter 4 portion of your grade if you're doing looking for credit with a grade, and then the remaining 20% would come from the exam. Moving onwards to the AP Physics 1 people, if that is your course and you took the exam, well, congratulations, you were done. You were eligible for a letter grade. Your final exam was the AP exam. So there are going to be a few of you where you're all set. I'm cautioning you right now. If you tell me that you took the exam and it turns out you didn't, you will fail the course, under the assumption that you just chose not to do the other engagements. We will find out about it, so don't try and play that game. Not that anyone would. If you did not take the exam, you are not done. You still have to accomplish 16 of 20 for a grade or 12 of 20 for credit. The remaining engagements are going to be on circuitry. That will involve engagements 14 through 20. So what about engagements 11, 12, and 13? So engagement 11 and 12, whether or not you attended the review sessions on Zoom, you're still going to receive credit for engagements 11 and 12. Now, why am I doing this? In a normal school year, which is what I'm trying to mimic as much as possible, we would have used this time to prepare for the AP exam, whether or not you were taking it. In fact, normally you would be taking a practice exam from the College Board that would count as your final exam in my course. That's obviously not happening, but I didn't want to change the idea of reviewing for the AP exam, especially for those who were still taking the exam. So, engagements 11 and 12 will review. If you came, great. If you didn't, no problem. You'll receive credit. Engagement 13 is the exam itself. Again, if you take it, you get credit. If you don't take the exam, doesn't matter. So you basically just got 3 free engagements. If we're talking about credit versus grade, you need 12 out of 20 to get credit. You need 16 out of 20 to get grade. And I just gave you 3 free engagements. Think about that. There's no reason for you to not get a grade. You should be getting a grade, an A or a B. I guess I shouldn't say there's no reason. The overwhelming majority of you have no reason to not get a grade. And for those of you who are in very unique special circumstances, if you would still want to receive a grade, contact me via email and we might be able to work something out. Now, engagements 14 through 20, those are going to be assessed once again through WebAssigns. So 14 through 20 are going to deal with circuits, and the engagement credit will be given through WebAssign completion. The other things such as videos and notes that will be released, those are going to be supplemental materials that I can't actually check to see whether or not you do it. My way of checking whether or not you do it is, can you get the WebAssign done? If you can get 100% on the WebAssign, then I'm happy. I believe that you have learned the material. And for some people, that will take longer than others. Some people might need a little bit more extra support than others, and that's fine. So the final thing for AP Physics 1 is your final project. Your final project is going to come in the one of 3 forms. One is if you took the exam, well, you're done. So you're all set. Don't worry about it. If you did not take the AP exam, you're going to need to attend one of the exam debrief Zoom conferences. I will have more than one available, and you'll need to attend one of them. Just one. They're going to be the same. Doesn't matter what time you end up coming. And all we're going to do is we're going to go over this year's AP exam. If you do not attend any of those Zoom conferences, you will be charged with having to write your own solutions for the exam, and it will be graded in a manner that if you can't at least accomplish 80%, you will be asked to do it again until you can get at least 80% on it. It is dramatically in your advantage to come to the exam debrief and make that your final exam project. That's it for the AP Physics 1. I'm going to continue on with AP Physics C. So, if you are in AP Physics C and you took the exam, even if it was just the mechanics and you didn't take the E&M, that's still fine. It still counts as you took the exam. You're done. You are eligible for a letter grade. Your final exam was taking the AP exam. If you did not take the exam, though, then you are not done. You'll still be under the same rules where you need at least 16 of 20 for grade, and you need at least 12 of 20 for credit. I know the overwhelming majority of our seniors, you can read the screen yourself and see the adjusted numbers for seniors. Here's what the remaining lessons are going to look like. So this particular week, lessons 11 and 12, you're getting free credit for. Lesson 11 was the lesson on Sunday where we did a review. I obviously cannot make you come to a review on a Sunday. That would be grossly unfair. But I'm just going to grant everyone a free point of credit for that, because whether or not you went to that review, you should have been reviewing for the AP exam. And if it was a regular school year, we would have just been reviewing for the AP exam anyways. There wouldn't be another WebAssign. There would be just, here's some practice problems. Let's do them together in class. Here's some to try at home on your own, and we can talk about them the next day. As for engagement number 12, engagement number 12 is the AP exam, so another free point. Now that takes us to engagements 13 through 20. If you're a senior and you have done engagements 1 through 12, well, honestly, engagements 1 through 10 were the engagements where you needed submission, and since I'm granting you 11 and 12 for free, you are done with one exception if you are not taking the AP exam. I'll get into that in the final project in a moment. But for our juniors and our one sophomore, engagements 13 through 20, as well as anybody who wants to do them anyways, no pressure, just to see how you would do, it's all going to be on magnetism. I'm going to, and I do need a little bit of time, but I'm going to do as much of an overview of magnetism that I can online. Some of it will be difficult to do because magnetism in itself is very difficult. We currently have engagements set up to explore magnetism in the manner of what we did on the first 3 weeks of this whole shutdown. That would be the 3 weeks before spring break, where none of that actually counts as credit. I just went ahead and took that information and put it all back in for engagement 13 and 14, I believe. Engagement 15 will get into some new stuff. And then engagements 16 through 20 will walk us through the rest of magnetism, engagement 20 concluding on a test on magnetism. Again, you need to keep in mind that how many engagements are you required versus how many do you do. That's up to you. I am doing this because I know a lot of people have expressed interest in the importance of learning magnetism because they intend to go on to be an engineer. And I'm telling you right now, if you do not know magnetism, you will not be a successful engineer. You don't have to be a perfectionist at magnetism, but you need to understand the concepts in magnetism. It is literally 1/3, and honestly, I would say it's half of the electricity and magnetism. You may think, well, we have electrostatics, and then we have electric circuits, and then we have magnetism, so it should be 1/3. Well, magnetism is so big in itself that it is half of E&M. And that makes sense, E&M. So, that takes us to the final project, or your final exam. If you took the AP exam, you're greenlit, you're done. If you did not, you need to do one of two things. One is you can attend the exam debrief Zoom conference. There will be one of them, and you just show up and we go over the exam and then you're done. The other one would be is if you do not attend that Zoom conference, you have to do the exam by hand. You have to write out your solutions. You have to submit your solutions, whether that means you scan them, scan your work, or take a photo of your work and send it in. And you need to have at least 80% accuracy in order to receive credit. With that concludes everything I've got for the calc-based physics.